What up, everybody? In the game, there's certain things that never go away, that you always have to be on the lookout for and stay one step ahead of. That's law enforcement, snitches, jackboys, as well as your competition. Right now, Kanan doesn't have any competition selling his weed. They do have a smooth operation in that regard, but at the same time, the operation is already getting hot. Javon got roped up a few episodes ago, and Famous got roped up in episode 5, and the cops kept the money back. I also want to take a minute to clear something up. I've heard a few people say that Kanan's weed plug said he was done because of all the police attention. But that was not Simrad who said that. That was Javon, the same kid who Kanan had Lou get out of jail in episode 4. So that also may have came into play when it came to why Kanan didn't check on Famous when he was in custody like Javon. Because Kanan felt like he wasted his time getting Javon out of jail only for Javon to quit. But the way Javon acts, at least Kanan got him out of jail before Javon started snitching. But likely, the real reason that Kanan didn't worry about checking on Famous when he was in custody was because he likely suspects that Famous had something to do with the gun in his bag. And we know in the upcoming episode, Famous is going to come clean with the truth, creating a whole new problem at the same time. So Kanan's operation is already hot, getting police opposition while he's still doing business in front of his building, handing out packages and collecting money, all right there out in the open for anybody to see what he's doing. And Ronnie and Rock both have already peeped that Kanan is hustling. It reminds me a lot of how Kanan warned Tariq not to keep the product in his dorm room, only for Tariq not to listen, and when Tommy showed up looking for the product, he found it in only a few seconds because Tariq had it right there in his book bag. This is exactly why Famous told Kanan that he don't where he sleeps. But Kanan, just like most young hustlers starting out, has to get it however he can, get it how he live, and get it out the mud. Because having a stash spot means you got to have extra money to afford that stash spot, and most hustlers when they start out don't have that luxury. But Kanan doesn't even have a car to try to at least keep the business away from where he lives or anything. This making Kanan absolutely the perfect mark for the Jack Boys. Keep in mind what Ghost told Tariq when he took the money that Tariq made hustling at Choke that he was hiding in Raina's closet. Tariq said, "So you're just gonna rob me?" And Ghost's reply was, "Dope boys get jacked all the time." Tariq wanted Ghost to teach him the game, and that is an important lesson that you got to learn if you're going to survive any time at all in the game. And that's how to stay ahead and away from the Jack Boys. I've been robbed at gunpoint twice, beat down by 3 guys at once and jacked, and had several spots burglarized. And all this happened when I was first starting out in the game, because once I got established, I kept multiple spots, multiple rides, and knew how to move to avoid that type of thing, and barely had any drama for a long period of time. Until things started coming to an end, then the drama went from 0 to 100 real quick. But as for Kanan, he has his business wide out in the open, and I know he's not strapped when he's doing business because he doesn't even have a piece. Either though we still don't know what Famous did with the strap he bodied Freddy with. Not to mention that Kanan is still a small kid. He hasn't even hit his growth spurt yet. So don't expect him to be able to defend himself like OG Kanan. Just notice how Ronnie was towering over Kanan when he went to ask Kanan who his plug was. So right now, Kanan is the perfect lick for the Jack Boys. And keep in mind that when Kanan got set up by Ghost and Tasha, he was arrested with both a gun and with product. And that's why he got 15 years in prison, serving 10. So with all that said, Kanan most likely gets jacked somewhere along the line, letting him know that he needs to stay strapped always. And I know that he got jacked already in season 2 by Freddy, but I still do expect him to get jacked again, because he got to really learn what it's like to get jacked for your own product, then have to eat that loss. But now that I've talked for a minute about Kanan getting jacked, let me backtrack for a minute to talk about Kanan getting the brick from Ronnie. Because we are expecting Juliana and Joaquin to put Ronnie on in episode 6. Then for Ronnie to turn around and front a brick to Kanan on consignment. So when Kanan gets jacked, it won't just be for a little bit of weed and possibly owing money to Simrat. When Kanan gets jacked, it's going to be for the coke that he's moving for Ronnie. Then he's going to have to deal with Ronnie problems. Getting me to who will it be that jacks Kanan? Because of course, with Kanan doing business out in the open in front of his place, any jack boy in the whole neighborhood could be clocking him, or even those couriers could be thinking about getting greedy and either running off with the product or jacking Kanan for all the product. Possibly even Javon could turn around and get a piece and end up jacking Kanan. But I think when Kanan gets jacked this time, it will be part of a bigger plan other than just hitting a lick. Starting off with Ronnie and Snaps staging a robbery on Kanan to keep Kanan under their thumb. Meaning Ronnie fronts Kanan a brick on consignment only to hire a crew to turn around and rob Kanan for that same brick, and giving that crew a cut. This putting Kanan in even more debt to Ronnie, something he will now be forced to work his way out of. We also know that in episode 6 that Kanan is going to meet Snaps Henry and his wife Pops for the first time at the club. So Snaps might actually be the mastermind behind Kanan getting jacked, and Ronnie might even use a crew from Snaps to get the job done. But if it isn't Snaps and Ronnie who robs Kanan, keep in mind that Jukebox is going to be hanging out with Kanan, keeping tabs on him, and at some point reporting everything back to Rock and telling her that Kanan is hanging out with some old heads. Also, after Famous comes clean to Kanan, the two will most likely go their separate ways for a season, leaving Kanan isolated and without backup, making him even more vulnerable. Getting me to the next possibility of how Kanan could get robbed. Just like Ronnie setting up Kanan to be robbed will be part of a bigger picture to put Kanan under his thumb, I also think that Rock could use a similar tactic, sending a crew over to rob Kanan in another attempt to control him and try to get him out the game. But once Rock finds out the news about Unique's death, her and Howard will pin her operation on Unique to get the feds from watching her. Then once she's in the clear and no longer under investigation, she will turn to Quan and try to take over Neek's heroin business. Going full circle of how I started this video out with saying Kanan doesn't have any competition with his weed business. Because once he gets into the coke game, his competition will be his own mother. Really giving new life to the saying, bad blood. And there you have it. Leave your thoughts, theories, and predictions in the comments.